Have you thought about creating your own subscription community that you can sell recipes, tips, or other types of services within your business? Today, I'm going to talk to you about some of the lessons that I learned while starting my own online subscription community on Patreon. My name is Jessie, and if you're new to my channel, I am a corporate event coordinator and a business coach specifically for entrepreneurs that are in the food and event industry. I'm super excited to be talking to you today about how you can use online subscription communities to grow your business. About a year ago, I tried a platform called Patreon to my coaching clients in a community. I wanted to have something that was at a low price point, that was easy for people to join and be a part of, but also add value to my target audience. During that time, I realized how important this option could be for those of you that are event planners or food professionals. I have seen chefs use this platform as a resource to sell their recipes, their ebooks, and to cultivate a community in a paid environment. I also know that there are some event planners that use that as a platform to coach other event planners and nurture their community and audience in it as well. Patreon is the easy platform to get started on. They have various plans that are free for you to use, but the only charges that you have to take care of are the ones when people are paying. You have a percentage fee for processing those payments. But as we know, those aren't usually very high, so you can find a plan within their platform that's going to be affordable to you. You may be wondering, what is Patreon? Patreon is an online community that allows for you to share resources, tips, videos, chats, and other types of communication all on one platform. In this community, you're able to provide exclusive content that may not be easily accessible on your YouTube or your Instagram platforms. It's a way to get financial support for your business to grow. You will love the fact that you can create different tiers for people to contribute to your community. You can have free access to anywhere up to $100+ for monthly contributions. I had 4 different platforms within my community that allow people to just view some selective information all the way to larger paid tiers that were around $30. You get to actually set your price on those tiers, but to be very honest, I did a course on Patreon and I found out that most people are willing to re-engage in a community when the tier price is no more than $20. So I want to share with you the 3 main lessons that I learned while creating an online community on Patreon. The first lesson that I did learn is the amount of time that I was able to actually commit to being on Patreon. I think that this is something very important for any creator to actually consider. You want to make sure that you can be consistent on that platform and provide value to your audience. That does not mean that you have to be online all day, every day, because your target audience may not actually have the time capacity to be online with you all day, every day. So it's very important to make sure that you're clear about the type of time you're going to be able to commit, but also the type of time that your audience will actually need to participate in the information. You don't want to get on this hamster wheel of always creating content that is not actually being consumed. So it's important to have some type of strategy some type of strategy that correlates with the amount of time that you're going to actually allocate to that platform. The second lesson that I did learn was that it was super important to understand what type of content I needed to create. I think that it can be very tempting to see that you have an opportunity to create a financial support through these platforms, but you don't want to just be creating something that isn't going to be able to add value to your audience. This is something that I find when I was in different groups in Patreon, was that it's important to make sure that the content you're putting out there is going to add value to your community. It's not about just what you like to create, but it's what's going to keep people subscribed and is going to fulfill what they thought they were going to get by being a part of your community. So if you're going to go about starting your own online community, I highly recommend you thinking to yourself, why would someone want to join this, and what would they want to see in that community? So then that way you'd be able to be clear about, can I consistently produce that kind of content, and do I have the resources to being able to do it? The third lesson I learned was on pricing. It wasn't until I was doing Patreon for several months that I realized that certain types of price structures work the best when you're going to be creating this community. You may be tempted to have $100 tiers or $40 tiers, but Patreon had this training course that I went to months ago where I was able to learn about what makes a Patreon community successful. And I found out that most people are more commonly going to be participants in a subscription that's under $20. Think about it. How many subscriptions come out of your account that you probably don't pay attention to because it's like $12, $15? Is when you get into like the $40, $50 range, where people tend to be a little bit more aware of the amount of money that's coming out of their bank account. If you're going to be doing $15 tiers, that doesn't mean that you have to do 20 posts a month. It could actually just mean that you're doing a post once a week. It just means that you're encouraging and nurturing that audience throughout that week, so you don't have to keep creating all of that content. So this is something that can be helpful for private chefs or food bloggers that are constantly creating all this content on their social media. I've often said that you can use a platform like Patreon, and instead of creating all this content every day of the week or every other day of the week, you can put people in a Patreon community, charge $15 a month, and once or twice a month you can have a new recipe that releases, and then that way you're having the loyalty of your audience and you're being compensated for it, compared to selling $1 recipes that are going to just keep you working. So I've hinted a few times in today's video, I used to have a Patreon community. I decided for my type of business that it was not going to be helpful, but only reason why I said that is because with coaching, it takes a little bit more commitment than $10, $15, because the amount of information that I'm putting out there, when there's not a real commitment, then people don't always take advantage of it. So when you're going to be doing this type of platform, it's really awesome, but be clear about what type of community you're building, as well as how you're going to be adding value. It's not just to make money. I never did Patreon to just make money. I did it because I wanted to give an easy access point to my target audience. So keep this in mind when you are creating your own community. It's not about over delivering, it's adding value, adding great content, and nurturing that audience that makes the biggest difference in you having success on Patreon. Plus, it's important for you to consistently promote the platform, talk about it all the time, invite people to it, and use it as a hub to actually keep your community together, compared to, let's say, on Instagram, where you're one of a slew of different professionals that people can keep track of, but your information gets lost in the sauce. Where on Patreon, they're only going to see your information when they're logged into your community. So I have a question for you. Have you ever thought about using Patreon? And if so, what has been your experience? I would love to start the conversation about using online subscription services to be able to grow your business and add an additional income stream. So comment below and let me know your thoughts about this specific topic. So let's have a great conversation, and talk to you later. Peace.